What is going on, everybody? I am Mike Alexander with FM99 for FM99's Backstage Pass, and I'm here with Tim Montana. Tim, how are you doing today?
Better than I deserve, thank you.
Well, I just saw you walking around. You said you just got out of a coffee shop. You're walking around Dillon, Montana, just hanging out, doing good.
Yeah, actually, my sons have a science fair. I just landed from Los Angeles last night. My wife walks out the door, says, "I'm out for 8 days. Here's your kids. Here's what you have to do today." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't know I was driving 80 miles to a science fair." But yeah, here we are.
Well, that's cool. You're making the travels around for the kids, but you were about to be traveling out for yourself on tour. You were actually coming here to our hometown, Virginia Beach. You're going to be at Elevation 27, April the 9th, with your tour. Is that the start of the tour? Is that the first show on this leg of
I
the tour?
think it's I think it's the first show. Yeah, I think that's the first one.
Yeah. When I was looking at your website, it was like Virginia Beach right at the top of the list. So we're excited to have you in town. It's a nice little venue out there. You have your pick of food right beforehand. It's all around the place. So you're good to go.
Got a
All of
bunch
your
of
coffee shops out there.
Yeah, got a bunch of Navy buddies that are out there, or trained out there.
Oh,
So yeah,
neat. Very cool. Yeah, Hampton Road's huge for the Navy over here, military in general. We love them. We really appreciate everything that the servicemen and women do around here. Well,
yeah.
we're excited for a huge tour, and this is you've also been added recently to Aftershock, Louder Than Life. You're on Rockville. Is there a different way that you prep for huge stadium festival tours like that versus smaller, intimate venues like you're coming to Elevation 27?
I treat them all the same. I don't care if
Yeah.
there's, that old thing of like play like you're playing in a stadium wherever you play. And
Dude,
whether I've been played for small crowds and full send, and you always hear those stories about rock stars when they get there. It's like, yeah, I saw Kid Rock and he played for three people, but he acted like it was Madison Square Garden or whoever that is. So
dude, that's great. I mean, you're treating every single audience the exact same way, and they love to see that, whether it's a sold out crowd or a small, tiny, low venue you're playing for your friends, you give the same energy, and I love that. So, your song, "The Devil You Know," that's massive radio play right now, and you've only released it so far as a single. Is that right?
yeah, yep. So
Yeah.
that was the first rock single I've ever done. Spent 3 weeks top five at Billboard. And
Dude.
it's just wild, man. Wild to see that happen. So now we're leaning in and just put the finishing touches on a full length hard rock album that we will be. You guys get to hear it first. You guys get to hear the
All right,
first live performance of this new
dude.
record. So
That's so cool. So you're gonna be bringing some of these new songs to Elevation 27 when you come here to town, right?
all of them. Yeah, all of
All
them.
of
So
them, the whole
yeah,
album. Dude, that's exciting. All right. We love to be guinea
yeah,
pigs for new music. We love it.
yeah.
Can you walk me through that recording process a little bit for the W Know? Because from what I've seen and other research that I've done and other interviews that I've seen, it wasn't like studio bred, right?
No, this was we recorded this in a Tough Shed in Nashville. And it was originally a demo. And then with my producer, Michael Wilshire, I said, should we hire session guitar players? And he's one of those guys like, no, dude, you should play the guitar on this. So literally all the guitar work on this whole record is me and my buddy in a Tough Shed in Nashville. That's like, and everyone, and like some of the label people and stuff try to be like, oh, tell them like what producer you had and what studio. And I'm like, I had a producer you've probably never heard of, and we did this in a shed. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, I think that's cooler myself.
That
It's just that
is,
homegrown organic rock and roll, bud. It's hard to beat.
dude, I love that. So, I mean, you got like Dave Grohl, who kind of did the same thing when he's, first going out with Foo Fighters, all on his own, doing, I think it was like his garage type setup, studio
Yeah.
setup, very minimal, very minimal. And so you're going
His
along the same
garage his
lines.
garage is a little nicer.
Well, it's getting huge radio play. Devil, now it's a big southern rock, like you mentioned. It's a rock album, but it's got the southern swang. It's got a little bit of country feel to it, and I feel like personally this is a genre crossover that we're seeing more and more often. And you're including yourself into that. What do you think about that genre kind of crossover with between rock and country and that becoming more prevalent?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I never, if I'm being honest, I never got welcome to the country party. For years I was shut
Yeah.
out, and they're like, "You're too loud, you're too rowdy, your hair's too long, you cuss too much." So I will be the first to say I'm getting in the rock and roll lane and full throttle, all the way. That's what I grew up listening to, and the Southern rock thing's funny because like half my band were all Northern guys. We're like, yeah, we're Southern to
Yeah.
like, we're Southern to Canada. My guitar players from Nelson, British Columbia. Yeah, we're all pretty much
Yeah.
northern guys. But I mean, we grew up
That's,
listening to Southern rock, ZZ Top and Skinner and all that stuff. But yeah, so for this project, we went heavier, like way heavier than Devil, because I'm like,
yeah.
I'm gonna put this country rock thing to rest.
Sure. Sure. Well, the double, and especially the music video when you tied that in, it's got some heavy themes along with
Yeah.
it. Can you talk a little bit about what the themes are in the song in the video itself?
Yeah, for me, I had unfortunately went through a lot of child abuse as a kid, and I was like, I'm going to tell that story, and I want this to, you know, tell this exact story because it might inspire some kid out there that like thinks they got it bad to be like, hey man, I could, if I keep working and dreaming outside of this bad situation, maybe I could get out of this and do something with my life. And so I had my son portray
Oh, looks like
me,
we
and then
okay.
my buddy Russ portrayed, he was a child
Yeah.
abuse survivor as well. And he's like, I want to be the abusive dad. And then my wife called in the middle of it and she's like, hey, I know all you guys need therapy, but if my son needs therapy after going through this music video portraying your
Yeah.
childhood, you're going to have some problems.
Oh man. Well, the video is great. The song is great. Now you had mentioned ZZ Top. You threw out Kid Rock, which are both artists that you've actually gotten to work with. Are
Yeah.
there any other artists or are they like huge influences in your creative process, your writing, your musicianship?
Yeah. Billy Gibbons took me under his wing about, 11 years ago. And when nobody cared about me, he kept putting me on tour with ZZ Top and kind of, helping me and mentoring me and all this stuff. So he's been my biggest asset, one of my best friends, like the dad I never had. So, having Billy along for this ride is amazing. We write songs together. We have a hot sauce company together. We just bought a bar in Montana called the Wise River Club
Oh,
together. So
nice.
so the beards, man, we got the
Yeah.
connection. And then,
The
and
beard's got to
then,
stick together.
that's right. And then the Kid
Yeah.
Rock thing, he's become a good buddy as well. And I wrote two of his singles on his Sweet Southern Sugar record with him that I think they were both top 40, one on country, one on rock. But yeah, he's been great as well. And, getting to hang out with Dave Grohl and become friends with him. And I'm like, there's an interesting pattern here of the people that I get in their circles. I'm like, maybe I should have been in the rock lane a long time ago because those are my homies, the rock stars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude. Can you? I want to talk to you about Dave Grohl too, because there was a story that when you and your daughter got to go backstage at the show, and she got to meet Dave Grohl, who was, I guess, one of her musical heroes too.
yeah, so she got into grunge over COVID, but didn't want to tell me because it's not cool to listen to your dad's rock and roll, right? So then she came out, and right before Bonnaroo, I was supposed to fly to Montana to work on closing out this bar deal. And she said, Dad,
Yeah.
it's Father's Day. It'd be cooler if you took me to Bonnaroo because I want to see the Foo Fighters. And I'm like, say what? And so I took her backstage. Dave was really busy at Bonnaroo, but I told Pat Smear from the Foo Fighters the story, and he just runs right up to her. He's like, I got to meet this girl. And just watching Pat Smear and my daughter, because she's like, oh my God, this guy's in Nirvana Unplugged in New York, and this is wild. She was beat red. And then 2 or 3 months later, we're in Montana, and I saw the Foo Fighters were playing Big Sky. And this time, Dave was not busy. And all my music people are like, did you tell Dave about your single? Did you tell him about everything going on? I said, no, I let my daughter talk to Dave, and I just stepped back and watched, like my little
That's.
girl, just getting to chat up Dave Grohl. And it was a really special moment. So
I was gonna say that's got to be such a cool moment as a dad, just watching your kids meet your heroes too. Because you're a big music guy, and just seeing that come full circle for your own kids and everything. That's got to be
yeah,
awesome.
and she went home and said, teach me Everlong. And she learned Everlong and just nailed it on the guitar. I'm like, right there, that inspiration of meeting that guy and then learning that song. And now I hear her play that song on her guitar. And I'm like, yeah, totally.
That is It is awesome. Now, are there any other musicians that you think you would love to work with? Because, like you said, you've worked with ZZ Top, you've worked with Kid Rock. Anyone else that you would like absolutely love to like? Oh, I got to have them on my album, or I got to be with them.
Man, I think Jerry Cantrell is one of the last guys on my rock and roll bucket list. I was a giant Alice in Chains fan, and yeah, so I think Jerry's up there. Slash, of course.
Yeah, dude.
Metallica. I mean, and I love seeing this resurgence of all these bands like coming out again and crushing it. You know, because I'm like, I feel like music may have got kind of boring in the last few years, and finally the new kids are like, oh, there was something really special about the '90s and 2000s. Like, you know, where
see,
we weren't wrong growing up on grunge and stuff. So
there's a little something too, being able to listen to your dad's rock and thinking that's kind
of
cool, right?
I keep hearing the phrase "dad rock," and I'm like, I'm gonna make a video like when the record comes out and be like, I'm tired of being called dad rock. I am not dad rock as I'm making my 4 kids cereal.
That's awesome, dude. Well, we are stoked to have you come to Elevation 27. Again, that show, Elevation 27 in Virginia Beach, April the 9th. You're bringing new music. You're bringing an entire new album with you. And we're stoked to, like I said, we're excited to be your guinea pigs. We love new music down here. We're excited to see you. And so get your tickets. April 29th. It's going to be a big day in Virginia Beach. Tim Montana, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you guys. Appreciate the support. Can't wait to see you.